Hi, this is Brynja Magnusson, and I am going to be explaining how to approach this book through one of the systems that the book is about, and that is Animal Totems. This book is about 4 different systems to connect with 4 different systems to give you clarity, whether that's through energetic systems or through a very ancient divination system. So for many approaching this book, they're familiar with one of these systems, but not all. So I'm giving a little bit of an explanation on how to use some of the other systems that might not be familiar to you. So the Animal Totems, this is a divination system very near and dear to my heart that I've been using for over a decade to find clarity. And I feel it's extremely connected to the subconscious and very deeply rooted in our DNA to work with animal totems, to understand what the meaning is that these wild and organic interactions with nature is bringing us. And there's many different languages of animal totems, and this is just one derived from actual indigenous teachings and writings about this topic. This is not coming from dream interpretation. This is not coming from the Gene Keys version of their pairing of animal totems. This is coming from indigenous North American tribes that has been recorded and published. So, with that introduction, how can one approach this book and use animal totems with it? Now, there are numerous ways that you can have interactions with animals. It can be through pets, it can be through zoos, it can be through going camping or being out in nature. It can be just through looking out your kitchen window and seeing an animal totem. It can be through dreams. It can be through drum journeying and visualizations. It can be through psychedelic experiences where you see an animal totem. And these all carry different meanings in the different context in which you see them. So let's say one of the easiest ways that you can work with animal totems is you just have a random interaction with one of these animals and you want to know, does this have meaning? Does this make sense for me? So let's say you're walking out in the woods one day and you're contemplating something that's going on in your life, and suddenly you see or hear a great horned owl up in the tree. It's hooting. And the owl hoots, they're incredible. From a great horned owl, they are resonant and deep and loud, and you think, this must have meaning. What does this mean for me? So here's how you can tap into that. You can look up, there's several ways you can look up where the animal totem is in the book, whether it's the table of contents. Here it is, page 47. I even have a mandala here, if you want to look it up this way, which it is here, Owl, the 7th chapter. There's a key in the back as well. And here we go. Chapter 7, the owl. So here at the bottom is the animal totem meaning. Now, you can read about the positive message, the regular, not reversed animal totem up here, which would be typically if the animal is safe, healthy, there's nothing going wrong with it, it's not in distress, that you're just seeing it in a normal interaction in the wild where it's happy and healthy. Great. So you can read this, see if it resonates, see if it makes sense to you, if it can plug into what's going on in your life. You can also look at it in reverse totem. Even if it's not in reverse, even if it's not dead, typically, for me at least, in the way I use it, if I come across an animal that is dead, dying, injured, distressed, perhaps even caged, or whatever it may be, if they're not in a good place, this is tapping into the reverse meaning. It might be actually telling you the opposite of the positive. And this is very informative. Whatever the meaning is, its context is very important. So even if it's not in reverse, sometimes looking at the reverse gives you a more dynamic picture of what the positive is. So I always suggest read this as well, See if that taps in. And then let's say this is great. Maybe it resonates, maybe it doesn't. It depends on your own situation. You can look up here and see which hexagram is related to this. Now this is my pairing of these two things together. The I Ching is giving you a piece of advice. It's saying, here's what's going on for you right now, if you threw the coins, which we covered in the other video. Here's what's going on in your life, and here's what you should do to stay safe or be the most elevated version of yourself that you can be. I have paired this, and paired these as well, with the animal totem archetype that is most similar to this meaning. So the I Ching is telling you X, Y, and Z, here's what you should do, and you can see, does this actually make more sense to me than this more subconscious archetype version? Does the human design chart, the human design gate, does that make more sense? Because human design is the I Ching through human energetics. It might be that the 7th gate is an important gate in your chart, or the chart of someone who is involved with you, or involved into what's going on in your life right now. And the Gene Keys gives you a very deep and dynamic look of the spectrum of consciousness that the 7th hexagram taps into. So it might be that this gives you an even more dynamic view of what is going on through the animal totem here. But of course, animal totems are subconscious. They will bring meaning uniquely into each person's life depending on who you are and what your relationship to it is. So there is, it's a subjective art. And that means that interpreting it is a very personal process, even though sometimes asking others for the way that they interpret it can be very informative. And that's what makes this such an interesting system to work with, because it's so changing, moving, rich with meaning, and varying depending on who and how it's appearing. So that is one way to tap into one of the systems in this book. And I hope this was informative, and I look forward to explaining the rest of the systems in my next videos.